Yes.
Okay. And what do you think?
Yes.
I think it's very biased towards the fact that he's basically trying to say that you shouldn't really emphasize on Black Lives Matter. It should be more about equality between everyone.
Hmm. And
And I think
how is it biased?
um, it's it's kind of the way that he's saying that when, for example, when they're saying that Black Lives Matter, um, they're using that against white people to
Hmm.
say that they're kind of pushing, kind of creating that divide in between the two ethnic groups,
Okay.
from what I can understand. And another thing that I picked up on was he used one of the points to say he was basically trying to distinguish between discrimination and racism,
Okay.
linking to the traveller, one of the travellers, I think it was. Um, so yeah, that's what I could make out of it. That he basically he was trying to put a point across to say, don't you shouldn't emphasize on Black Lives Matter. And then he also mentioned that there's a lot more um, there's a lot more violence with it as well, especially within the younger
Okay, fine. But
generation.
okay, I want your opinion about this. What
Yes,
do you think?
personally think that the writer wants to basically say that um, Black lives don't matter.
And where did you see that?
It's basically from what I
Is there
saw.
any oh, just 1 second. Is there anyone else who agrees that the author is completely disregarding the Black Lives Matter movement? Guys, before we
No, it's
continue.
just I see his point of view. That's it. I know where he's coming from.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah, I
think
agree. Like he is talking. Sorry, Ryan. But he's just giving his opinion on the matter, and I think he's just trying to say that Black Lives Matter. Like, obviously that's important, but also he wants to bring into attention white fragility and the
Do
all
you
lives matter.
do you guys understand what white fragility means? You guys all know what white fragility is?
Yes, where they don't
Yeah.
accept,
What is it?
where they don't accept it.
No, white fragility is not where you don't accept it, but white fragility because there is a link to there's a link to an article about white fragility. But what I mean is by white fragility is that what the term actually means is how that when you're white and you hear about racism, you for some reason feel very guilty that you're being white. Okay, your guilt for being white, like whiteness guilt. And it's not that it's not you being racist, but it's the other way. It's you being guilty for being white. Okay, that's what white fragility stands for. It's absolutely crazy, but it's just white people going out of their way to try to be like black people because guys, the thing is that in reality we have white people, we have black colored skin, we have dark colored skin, we have different facial features. um, Thank God that we're not all the same on this planet. That they're different people, and they're different people for a reason. It's not because the reason why there are uh, darker colored skin is because of the climate and and the weather conditions that the people in that region have, that's how they developed. That's how, in order to survive, obviously, it's their it's how the evolution worked on them. So it made them have darker skin, so they would be more adapt for the environment that they lived in. Okay, because it's very hot, and it's very, very there, it's a lot of sun, and there is a less there's not enough shadow, so you have to be resistant to the sun. So that's how we have a darker colored skin. Okay, whereas in other regions of the world, where there's not so much, there's completely different climate, we have different colored skin. Okay, and the same goes for facial features. We're very diverse. Okay, just like our planet. Our planet is extremely diverse. Okay, and unfortunately, the history has shown us that people are extremely violent and greedy and money hungry, and they can go to extremes to gain the power and to gain the money. And they sort of like the hunger and the greed, the level of the greed is unbelievable. So that's how slavery came about. But if you look at history, slavery was not just did not only involve Black people. If we're talking about slavery, because the author of this blog is talking about slavery, that's why the racism came about. Yeah, it's because of slavery. It's because Black people were sold to be owned by whites. But if any of you, I'm sure, have read history books or literature, you have it all over the place. Discrimination. That's why I don't want to call it racism, and I refuse to call it racism. It is discrimination. It is discrimination about class that you're born in, skin color, facial features, anything. There were a lot of white, unfortunate people that were owned by richer families. Okay, generations of them. Yes, it existed before this. They discovered African continent and started, bringing people from Africa. Before the whole colonialism happened, they used to own the less fortunate people from their own countries. They used to own people that during wars, okay, they would take the slaves, they would enslave people from the conquered countries. It existed all the time. They had slaves, and the slave didn't automatically mean Black. A lot of times slaves were white, the same skin color, probably from a neighbor village. So that I don't agree, and I think that it's I am speaking a lot right now. It's just that I want you to go back in time, and the thing is that, guys, when you're looking for answers, yeah, and when you have a complex problem like this, when you're faced with discrimination, with race, with racism, the key is always in history. okay? Because nothing ever is born yesterday, especially such complex things like slavery, discrimination, racism, okay? They happen over a long and long and long and long period of time, and they very often they have a lot to do with psychology of human beings. Okay, even Black people have had slaves. You know, let's keep an open mind and come on. I'm gonna stop talking now and let you we've established what white fragility, because I want you to all understand exactly what you're talking about. Okay, so white fragility is not that you are you think that because you're white, you're superior than anyone else. No, that's called white supremacy. White fragility is because you feel guilty for being white. Okay, as simple as that. Okay. Okay, Adam, you said that you have very strong feelings, so I really want to hear what you have to say.
Yes, of course. So I'm Jordanian. I've
Mm-hmm.
lived in Jordan my whole life.
Yes,
From
I know.
when I was born till I was 17. Then I went to Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Before I went to Ukraine, Black Lives Matter did exist and people did talk about it, but it didn't have that much attention. So when I heard about it, I was like, that's stupid. It's all lives matter. But I didn't understand the full picture and I didn't understand racism. Then I went to Ukraine. When I lived there, I encountered a lot of racism just because if I hang out around like my friends, which are Arab, I have pale skin, so it doesn't, when I'm alone, it doesn't really show. But when I speak, it shows. So the mistreat and the different like treatments I have, then I realized what racism is. And now I understand why it's Black Lives Matter. Even though the name is wrong, it should be like the marketing for it doesn't really help. But I understand it now.
Yes, you should, and you do, and but you know.
But I would like to say one last thing is that's
Yes,
why I see
please.
the author's point of view, because I was also naive and I didn't know it until I experienced it. If you live in your own country and you're comfortable, you'll always see like there's no racism.
Okay, fine, but what the guys, it's not about racism. Okay, the thing here is Black, as in Black race, Black colored, dark colored people in general. Okay, discrimination, they're sort of like they are distinguishing it. What you've experienced in Ukraine was discrimination. It wasn't racism, it was discrimination. Racism is something they discriminated against you because you were a foreigner. Okay?
Yeah, I understand your point. Yeah.
Okay. However, the thing here is cultural background plays a very important role. Probably if you spoke, yeah, but they wouldn't understand it. Yeah, if you looked like typical, you would be discriminated even if you looked like a typical American, okay? You would still be discriminated because the problem, I don't know, in post-Soviet Union countries, that's the problem you have, okay? They discriminate. They discriminate against foreign people. They discriminate in Ukraine. They also discriminate against Georgians very much, okay? In Georgia, they discriminate against Turkish, Russian, people from African continent. Discrimination is all over the place, but they discriminate. It's not. I don't like to call it racism, okay? Because it's pure discrimination. Not my own, different, go away, okay?
In that case, discrimination is all over the world in literally
yes,
every country.
Yes, it is. It is
But then what
absolutely
do you
everywhere. It is
What's
absolutely
your how
What's
do you
my
describe
what?
racism, though? How do you describe racism? So I can understand.
How I describe racism, my point of view, which doesn't make it right by no means, but it's just up to me. Racism is when you have something against a particular race, okay? Meaning we have, how many races do we have? We have Caucasian race, we have Black race, we have Hispanic race, we have Asian race. So any race that you have a problem with, which you don't accept, okay? You are not going to be friends with that race. You are not going to hire that race. You're not going to talk to that race. You're not going to sit next to that race. Not a person, but anyone who represents that race. That's being racist, okay? That's what racism means to me. And I do realize that it's a huge issue in United States, okay? In United States, it is a huge problem, okay? But United States has so many problems, okay? Racism is not the most important. Poverty is what I think that the motto should be for not Black Lives Matter, but poverty, poor people matter, okay? That's what should be the name of the organization, okay?
Yeah.
For United States. It shouldn't be the Black Lives Matter, it should be poor lives matter, because those are Black people. I am sure that if that guy, whoever was shot, yeah, was in a rich neighborhood.
Floyd. Yeah.
Somewhere they wouldn't act this way towards him. However,
Sorry, Katie, I disagree with you.
Okay, please tell me why. I would like to change my opinion as well.
No, so the reason why I'll still consider it as Black Lives Matter, not Poor People Matter. Yes, Poor People Matter as well, but they're two separate issues, because there's a lot of Black people who are unjustly, who are being prosecuted or just stop and search, even if they are well off, but they are driving a nice car. Automatically, a lot of people assume that
assume that it's a drug. Yes, I know. Yeah. Okay, I get your point. I get your point, but it's very complex. Okay, so talking about it in United States, it's completely a different story, and you cannot. What I'm trying to say is that the thing is, whatever is happening, for some reason, it seems to be like a pattern. So whatever is happening in United States is
happens all over the world.
Happens all over the world. And all over the world is not United States. United States is a completely different story. They have completely different situation there. Every single state in United States has a different situation, which absolutely cannot be applied to the rest of the world. Okay, this is very wrong. I see a problem in there. Yes, please, Misbah. Yes, please.
Oh, sorry, Misbah, go ahead.
Yeah. Tell me. Say, I talk too much, guys. So please, interrupt.
I'll go after Misbah. Okay.
Okay. Come on, Misbah.
Yes. I wanted to disagree with you, Katie.
Please do.
And yeah, I wanted to just express that it's a global issue, and it's not just focused on America, and the experiences these Black people are having actually is correlating to what's happening in the UK, into many other countries. And the comment about the fact that poverty matters, it does, but you have to understand that as Michelle was saying, that you have people who are rich, who are Black and rich, and they are targeted. So it's a common thought. No, it's a common motion or movement that's coming with these people who are coming together and saying, look, this is not acceptable. This is you have to listen to us now. And yeah, there's Asian lives that matter. There's you know, all types of lives that could matter. But this is a problem that's existing, and it has to be recognized as that. It's focusing on Black lives, you know. I just didn't want to take away from it, but that's my.
Okay, great. Very, very, very good comment. Thank you very much. I agree with you. I agree with you completely. And yeah. What about you, Kamima?
Misbah basically said what I was going to say as well.
Okay.
Can
Anyone
I
else?
just add, like in Jordan,
Yes.
we do have, like, everybody keep doing on Instagram that Black Lives Matter, but at the same time that was happening, we had voting for like prime ministers in Jordan. Nobody gave notice to that, or the corruption we have in our country. They were more focused about Black Lives Matter in America, that we have more problems here. The same thing about feminism in the last class. We don't have just feminism here. We have culture, like a lot of bad things in our culture should be focused on before we focus on feminism or Black Lives Matter. Then we can focus on other stuff.
Bravo. Thank you very much.
As well, I think most people see Black Lives Matter as a trend because, like, the current situation in France with Islamophobia and stuff, I don't see as much awareness as Black Lives Matter, and I think it's a big issue.
Yes, I definitely,
Yes, and
think
that too.
everyone sees the perception that it's a trend or it's cool to support Black Lives Matter. Fair enough, it is the right movement, but if you're going in that direction, try support other things too, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And yes.
Can I just say, like, in the last 2 years, 2 million people died in China, and in Hong Kong, the police were against them, and nobody talked about that.
Exactly.
So it's just like anything that happens in America, everybody cares about, but more important stuff, nobody talks about.
Yes, Kamima, please.
Yes, I was just going to say that obviously I think with the media, America does have a great influence on the things that we see and hear on the news. And obviously this is probably one of those topics that's just ongoing, but I think the wake of it really started when you mentioned George Floyd, because before that, this was an issue anyway. It was happening. It just wasn't as on the spotlight as much as it is now, because it was a visual recording of somebody being murdered in broad daylight, and I think it kind of woke.
And it happened all the time. The thing is that
all the time, exactly.
It happened all the time. The thing is that that's why I want to talk about when we talk about racism, we should take United States separately, okay? Because they have a lot of America is a culturally diverse country, extremely culturally diverse country, and the things that are happening in the United States. I do agree that racism happens all over the place, but the extent at which it's happening in the United States is not as, I wouldn't say that its effect is as big in other countries, okay? They have whole cities of that are populated by certain racial group, and the way the government is not trying to fix the problem, the government is actually they are helping them. Yeah, they're not. They need these people to be poor. They need for I don't know why. Actually, I do, but let's not get into this. The segregation is humongous in the United States. So when You were right. I don't remember who said it. I think it was either Ibrahim or Adam who said that it happens even if it's black guy driving an expensive car, they will automatically assume the police is going to stop him anyway. Yes, they will, because it takes generations. Okay, first of all, it takes a big change, and then it takes generations for this mentality to change. Okay, people need to collectively, if the government is not influencing this decision, it's not going to happen. Okay, so some kind of really drastic change needs to appear. Okay, so for example, police officers who are not who are going to be seen discriminating, okay, will have to lose their jobs, or have like some really drastic measures needs to be taken. And the Floyd thing, it was happening all the time, okay, because I have friends in the United States, and I also have colored, brown colored friends who are experiencing and who are in who, you know, I have contact with them, so I have like a first person information on this situation. And it happened all the time. It happens, it still happens. But the thing that you have to look at, like, you know, we've always said in this class, that you have to look at different perspectives. Okay, you need to look at, okay, this guy Floyd, did this happen only once? No, it didn't. It is a chain of ongoing events all the time. This is not just today. It happened yesterday. It happened a month ago. It happens all over United States. Why did it become so big? Why did it hit the media so hard? I mean, am I going to be part of this hype, or am I going to think critically about it and be smart and make an educated decision? Because it happened during coronavirus crisis in United States, and they needed some kind of news that would you know, completely silence the craziness that was happening with regard to coronavirus in the United States.
Katie,
so yes,
just to interject, so when you're saying that this is, you know, I agree with you, this has been in history for a long time, and it takes a long time, centuries, for things to change. But without this global movement, so without it being global, without it being so powerful, which you need when you have a collective opinion on something, you cannot have change. And that's why we have grabbed the attention of the world, is because this movement exists, and that's why it validates its importance.
I think that all types of movements should exist. Because when you have a movement, it means that you have a problem. And when you have a problem, you address it with the help of the movement. The problem here with Black Lives Matter is because a lot of people don't understand what it's about. And that was that's the thing that I was trying to make happen in this class. I was trying to get you to think about it deeply and not see it as another picture, profile picture on Facebook, which, you know, people did because everybody was doing it. You know, they just put a profile picture without really understanding what's behind it. Yeah.
I think maybe we've got different perspectives because we've experienced it, and yeah, it's just so varied.
I completely understand. I completely agree with you, Misbah. And I am not, please don't take it the wrong way right now, because I want to really, really make sure that we all understand each other really well. I am not against Black Lives Matter. No. Don't think that I am. I am not against anything that is, I think that it is important. The same way that I think that this Me Too movement is important, that it exists. The same Black Lives Matter movement is important. And but I also think that the next step is to have for a Lives Matter movement, and then we need to have all Lives Matter movement. And I think that we should also have different types of movement that will answer the needs of all sorts of discrimination. And what I think we need the most is Children Matter movement. Okay.
Katie,
Yes.
but you know, if we have the movement of all lives matter, it takes away from the issue because they're competing. Each of these groups are individuals.
I'm saying that it's a next step.
So if it was the next step, then they would be taking away from the focus of a certain issue.
I'm saying it should be the next step. So once the focus is settled around, once the racism issue is taken care of, we should have the All Lives Matter movement.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Okay.
So it's possible that that's going to take some time.
And I also think that just because even if it's at the same simultaneously, I don't think that there's anything wrong with concentrating on everybody's life. You know.
Can I just say that it's been 2020 years, and racism has existed for more than that, and I don't think it will ever. And
I
humans
also
just thrive on.
I think that it is. I think that it is achievable because never in our history we've been so global. Okay, never ever in our history we were able to connect so much as today. Okay, so that is going. I think that is going to eliminate the racial,
If we end racial, we still have gender problems. If we end gender, we have it will never end. We'll always have problems.
But
religion now is the problem.
Yeah. That's a very good topic for discussion, but we need to make educated choices in our lives. Okay, the reason why I'm giving you all these articles to read is to get you to understand and read things from different perspectives, okay, and see things from different perspectives, because it's not in Black Lives Matter movement. It's not just a problem of white people, okay? It is not, it's not only one-sided. It's both-sided, okay? Always.
Katie,
so, yeah. What?
Can you just elaborate a bit more in what you mean?
That it's both-sided?
Yes. Yes.
What do I mean by both-sided is that it's a matter of choice, the same as racism. It's always the matter of how you choose. And I'm going to get a little bit into psychology right now, if you will allow me, because you make a choice. An educated, when you decide to take an action, you make an educated choice based on your background. Okay, so when you make a choice to be a criminal, you make that choice because of this and this and this and this. When you make a choice to, I'm not saying that I favor one more over the other. I definitely do think that again, I'm focusing on United States here, because that's the country of concentration of the problem. The problem has been historically created, and then there was a lot of a fight against it, yeah. And if you think about Black people in the United States, like not even 100 years has passed. So it's not, one generation hasn't gone yet. Okay, so there's still people who remember being slaves. Maybe somebody's grandmother was a slave. Maybe somebody's grandfather was a slave, and somebody's mother was a slave. So it's all very fresh, yeah. And people's grandparents and parents were segregated. So that mindset is still very, very fresh. And that mindset is feeding the mindset of the population, other population in United States or in the city. Now, I'm trying not to use, I'm not trying to be very direct, but if you try to understand me, you will know what I'm talking about, okay? So these people, they still know the stories of their parents and their grandparents are still very fresh. It's not long history. It is still very fresh. And then they go out and they see that Floyd was killed. So it's a fresh trauma, okay? It's like PTSD. They're still going through they still have the stress disorder. That's what I like to call it anyway. So they're still experiencing this trauma. And because there are so many people that are still experiencing this trauma, this is a fresh trauma in the society. And because it's a fresh trauma in the society, they're going to view it. They're going to view every single action, every single, maybe the guy was really angry, just really simply to put it in a simple terms. We have a lot of violence, okay? So even if the guy was violent, wasn't really not a racist in the first place, but the first person who came his way was a darker colored a female or a male, and this violent white guy decided to punch him in the head. They're gonna call him racist. They're not going to think that it happened.
I would agree with you if it happened once, but it happens a lot.
Yes, it happens a lot because we have a lot of violence. And we have a lot of violence. People get beat up all the time in Georgia. Okay? But we don't call it racism. We call it just violence. I used to live in Turkey. I used to live in Austria, and I used to live in Holland. So I can say that I have some sort of international background and cultural diversity behind me. And we have violence all over the place. Okay, but because I'm talking about fresh trauma, if a black guy gets beat up, he's going to say that the guy who beat him up was a racist. When in reality, maybe it could be that he was just angry and he needed to, he wanted to show his violent behavior. Okay?
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
But, Katie,
yes.
If the white person is, or whoever we're categorizing as racist, and you're saying that maybe he's not, maybe he's just, has got issues, or he's a murderer, or just naturally just wants to do this, and another not because of racism. But what about if he doesn't recognize that he's being racist, but he therefore is
That's too. That's what I mean when I say thank you for elaborating. That's what I mean by fresh trauma in the society, because it's not just a trauma for Black people. It's trauma for the whole society that this terrible thing existed, and it's so fresh. Okay. That's why United States is a perfect example, because nowhere in the world did slavery exist. It did exist, but it never existed in the last century. In a civilized world, it did not. In United States, it did.
With the part where you said about segregation and the fact that it existed, but what about the segregation that exists now in the ghettos in the US? That's not something that's passed on. It's present now.
It's present now because it's that's how the government functions. It shouldn't be, there shouldn't be ghettos. There shouldn't be in a good society, there should not be segregation. When you look at civilized world, when you look at the countries that care for their citizens, they don't have ghettos, and they don't have these problems. Okay.
But
so,
there isn't. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes.
There isn't utopia. It's everywhere.
What do you mean? It's everywhere.
Every country experiences it. Everywhere.
I don't think that it does. I don't think that you should generalize it like that. I can tell you for sure that New Zealand doesn't have something like that. I can tell you for sure that Austria doesn't have it, that Holland doesn't have it, Nordic countries don't have it.
Well, really, Katie, it exists there.
What? Ghettos?
Well, what disproportionate of what they're experiencing life and the way they live. There's a disproportionate balance.
Okay.
But can I just say, I don't necessarily think that has to do with racism. That's just an income gap in terms of like, you're going to have it's a capitalism world where you have people that are in poverty and get across that. It's not to do with racism. It's just to do with the fact that there's a massive income gap between the ghettos. And that's just to do with maybe like, they're not having enough education. They're not having social support and stuff like that. It's to generalize it into racism is just a bit like, it's a bit risky, I think, in terms of that.
And that's what I mean, that
not having yeah, sorry.
No. Say, I just wanted to add that that's why you need to be careful, because a lot of things are being added to the racism pile. A lot of problems are being misinterpreted as racism. Because it's a very, very accessible, it's very easy label. Okay.
And exactly what like Mehmed said in the group chat. It's not just Black people that are living in ghettos. You do have white poverty, but we don't acknowledge that because it doesn't seem to fit the media status of Black people being the focus of it, Black Lives Matter, which I kind of think I understand what Black lives represent in terms of like, we do need equality and there is discrimination against Black people, but I don't necessarily think that that the government is outrightly racist to us, because we have the same opportunities as white people. You can get education in terms of going to university, having equal free speech and stuff like that. Where if you think about it, in the last maybe like 100 in terms of American colonial slavery, we did not have these opportunities. I'm not saying that we are at a stage where, in terms of like where we are, what I'm trying to say is that as Black people and stuff like that, we do have a slight disadvantage because we're coming out of slavery. White people never had that issue. So you're going to have a gap in between where people do feel that equality sort of issue. I'm not sure if I'm explaining myself properly, but
you're explaining yourself, and if we talk about it this way, we can add females as well. I mean, women in United States. What about women in United States? They had absolutely no rights.
I just think that sometimes we sort of get lost in, like, we do this race war, we lose insight on what matters, and that's just getting police reform, getting better education system, social welfare, and sort of helping people to get out of these ghettos, like we say, sort of like the economic, like the crushing that you have on them, to try and get them out of this situation and put them on the same ladder that every like you said, like a white person may have or a different class may have. That's what I think that we should focus on a lot more, and sort of making it, because when we say, oh, this black, white, this, we just lose focus on what is important.
And we're creating this artificially, we're creating this segregation ourselves once we start labeling, right? Where we live. That's what I'm trying to say, is that when we have a mindset that we are supposed to put labels on things, we artificially create those labels, and we make them stronger. We empower those labels without really realizing. We think that we're supporting it, but no, we're doing worse, in my opinion. And I think that because we're becoming so global, we are becoming so international, we're becoming information exchange is absolutely amazing today, that this problem is not going to exist, okay, if we don't help it. And that's why I think that children, when I said the children matter, should be the most important one. When we educate, the way we educate our kids, the opportunities that we give our kids, and the care that we give our kids is extremely important. And when we say our, I don't mean the kids that we give birth to. I mean the kids within our reach, okay? And the governments, I think that the future is in them, definitely, for sure. And governments should, especially United States, should do absolutely everything to care for that new generation, because they're the ones that are going to make choices. And if they make poor choices, they're going to, the problem is going to continue and continue and continue and continue. But if you educate them right, if you give them the right resources, and if you place them in the right environment, these wrong choices are going to happen less and less and less and less. So it's all about opportunity, really, how anyway, guys, before we stop, because we only have we've been here for ages now. Did you guys hear what happened in Paris?
Yeah, I heard all of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
How do you feel about it? How do you feel about having a discussion about this one?
Yeah, we can discuss it.
Yeah, next time we meet, nobody has hard feelings.
No, I don't think so. I hope not.
Nobody has anything against, because we're going to judge religion. Okay, we're going to talk about different religions. Probably, we're going to talk about all those things. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about this next week, right?
Next class, and I want to send you an article, maybe a couple, for you to read, or I can just how do you want to, anyway, I'll send you an article. If you have time to read it, you read it. If you don't, then I will give you about 15 minutes in class and you can read it in class. But guys, I just want to make sure that nobody has any really strong feelings about it, because I want you to keep an open mind. I want you to be like active. Okay. So if it's a very sensitive topic, then I'd rather not do it. Okay.
No, happy to partake.
I'm open for it.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
happy to partake in it as well.
Philip, what happened in Paris? Freedom. Oh, the migrant crisis, where some people left their lives crossing over to the UK. Really? That also happened? I didn't know. What I meant what happened in Paris was that the professor was beheaded in the middle of the street.
Also, okay. Sorry, I thought we were talking about something else.
No. I'm talking about the professor being beheaded in the middle of the.
Oh, okay. Because I thought it would be also something else after that, like what happened. Because
okay, what happened?
There was, I think, some guy called, I think his name's Charlie Hebdo, but he's basically, I think, he's some artist, and he basically portrayed and put a picture.
That was before. That was like 2 years ago, Charlie.
Is it the professor that talked like badly about the Prophet in Islam?
Yeah.
No, he didn't talk badly. He was actually my colleague. He was the professor of freedom of speech, something critical thinking subject like, and he didn't talk badly. He was anyway, I will send you an articles so you can read.
I don't know what he talked, but yeah, that's what I heard. So
yeah, he was he used
he shared a picture, right?
Sorry?
He shared a picture.
He shared a picture on his critical thinking class. He shared a picture of this a couple of years ago in this newspaper published an article with a cartoon that showed that didn't portray Prophet Muhammad in a very nice way. So there was a lot of hype about that. It caused a lot of controversy, obviously. And then this guy, this professor showed this picture in his class, okay? Now, I don't know the details, but I would assume that because he was a freedom of speech critical thinking professor, he would have this picture. He would show this picture to entice the discussion in class, okay? For lively discussion, to open minds, to talk about like I do here, okay? I understand this very much because I also like to cause unpopular ideas to rise up, because that creates a lot of discussion and a lot of new ideas pop into light. So those kind of tools, controversial tools, are very useful when you have them. And I am sure that he didn't mean to offend anyone. He just used it as a tool in his class. And a student got offended. And, those of you who know, you know how that happened. But there's a lot of things that followed. There's a lot of stupid decisions that government made, which they shouldn't have made. So even the government officials lack critical thinking skills in many instances.
I think we should leave the book to next week, because all of us will be ready to talk about it.
Yeah.
Before we.
What we should leave what?
I agree. We should also
leave
talk
this topic till next week.
Yes, definitely next week. That's what I'm saying, that I will send you articles and we can have this discussion next week. Okay?
Just one more question, just because it doesn't seem one-sided. I know there's a lot of like Muslims right now in the call, is there also from the other side? Because if we all just have one opinion, it's gonna be not this. It's gonna be like something else.
What do you mean? Sorry, I couldn't hear you very well. Can you repeat what you just said again? We have
Yes.
what?
Most of the people in this call, as I can hear, is that correct?
Are what?
Muslims.
Muslims.
Yeah.
I can't base my I don't know. I do not know.
So I just wanted to make sure, is there other people, other religions, or in this class, or what exactly that?
But that doesn't really matter because everyone's opinion is going to be unique, not based on what faith you have. Even if you're Muslim, you might have a different opinion.
That's also true. Yeah.
It would be even better if we have different opinions from all of the representative of the same religion. That would make it even more interesting, don't you think? So let's see how diverse it gets. Well, I'm not Muslim. I am actually okay. Let's not get into that. I'm the person of science. So yeah, but I am familiar with Islam. Thank you very much. I considered it a very interesting Quran. I've read it, and it's I think it's very wise, and it has a lot of deep and interesting ideas. So it's like one of my books that I recommend to people to read. So yeah, I am just not a very religious person, let's say. Okay, so you have me, who is going to argue you all the way. Okay.
I'm open for it, but no hard feelings. Yes.
Definitely. Okay, please. I know that's why I'm double checking so much with you guys that if it's a sensitive subject, please, I would rather not get into it. Okay.
No, it's perfectly fine.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, guys. So that's it. I will see you next week. Thank you for a very interesting class today. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.